Live and Lansing with Michael Cohen. This is more compelling talk radio, 1320 WILS.
We're back. Marijuana will be legal in Michigan by 2016. That's what my next guest believes. And after a year that saw cities like Detroit, Flint, and Grand Rapids decriminalizing cannabis, it's not hard to believe. To talk about what we'll see this year, I'm joined by Brad Forrester, who helped form the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association. He's also the director of one of the chapters of the Michigan NORML organization. That's the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Brad, thanks for joining us on WILS.
Michael, thank you for having me on the show, and I appreciate it.
So the efforts in Michigan have been local so far. We've been decriminalizing marijuana in different cities. When do you see that attempt being made here in Lansing?
Well, I'm working with a group presently that is eyeing Lansing for as soon as 2013. We believe from our studies that Lansing is ripe, and we're prepared to go the initiative route, but we're hoping that Mayor Bernero will guide the city through this process legislatively, and we won't have to turn in all the signatures and go through everything that we have to go through to get it on the ballot.
When you say the conditions are potentially ripe here in Lansing, what kinds of things do you look for then?
Well, if we look at some polling data from other places, it's a simple matter of math, Michael. If you look at the municipalities that are heavily Democratic or that voted heavily Democratic for Barack Obama in this past election, if we look at some other polling numbers from Ohio, they show that 58% of Democrats support decriminalization or legalization, depending on how you word it, depending on the municipality. Mm-hmm. So if we do the simple math on it, we find communities that largely turned out for Barack Obama in 2012, and
so Democrats you're saying tend to vote for decriminalizing pot, essentially.
Yeah, well, the numbers prove it. Overwhelming. I think only 28% of Republicans or conservatives support legalization, while 57% of Democrats do.
Well, let me ask you
we've got some work to do with the conservatives.
Let me ask you about the cities that have now decriminalized marijuana. What does that really mean? Can't law enforcement officials there arrest people using state law?
It's possible that they can. I think many of these charter amendments have been characterized as symbolic in nature. And what it basically does is it tells the leaders, the elected officials in those municipalities that, hey, the people of your governance are prepared to decriminalize cannabis for responsible adult use.
Do you think the public at large does view a distinction between medical marijuana for those that are sick and simply people that want to get high?
I think there is some distinction there, but I think what the public is really tired of is the amount of money that we needlessly waste arresting people with simple possession. In Michigan, I think our numbers, we arrested over 17,000 people last year for simple possession. There's a cost associated with arresting, processing, charging, taking them to court and incarcerating them. So, I know our opponents say, well, you don't put people in jail for simple possession, but that's simply not true. Everybody who's going through the court system for a possession charge has been arrested. They've been taken downtown. They've been fingerprinted. They've been handcuffed. Some of them even spent time in jail, so it does happen.
Now, when we talk about legalizing marijuana in Michigan, is that for anyone that's over 21, and would they simply then walk into a dispensary and buy marijuana?
Well, I think, that's going to depend largely on what our polling data suggests at that time. There's various routes to go. One route is decriminalization, where we basically take the charge from a misdemeanor and turn it into a civil infraction, much like a traffic ticket, jaywalking, spitting on the sidewalk, something like that. And then the other way is full legalization, which would mean regulating the product from seed to sale and taxing it at certain points along the way.
I see, but this would be for folks that are 21 and over. That's the vision then.
I would assume, again, I'm not the shot caller on this, and I don't have concrete polling data in front of me, but I would assume that you're going to see an age restriction of probably 21. That seems to be the magic number in other municipalities or other states like Colorado or Washington. So, yes, I would assume that's a reasonable thing to suspect.
I see. Now, you're saying these local communities are passing this decriminalization effort, but the truth is a lot of the push to get this on the ballot is being done from outside the communities then, right? Michigan NORML is involved in a larger way.
Well, there's a lot of support from a lot of corners, but it all mostly comes from within the state. You're right. But there are people in those communities that support us, that help fund us, that turn out and volunteer for us. So this is not, a bunch of outsiders invading a community and getting the law passed. We have willing accomplices within each community that we work in.
Let me ask you then about a potential lashback. Do you think if you keep pushing, there's going to be a point where we will see the states and maybe the other side responding and shutting things down?
I think it's going to be difficult to do that. If we draw any parallels between cannabis prohibition and alcohol prohibition, I think it took 30-some states, 33 or 36 states before alcohol prohibition was completely ended. The feds threw in the towel. Right now we have 2 states with legal tax and regulate cannabis. From my understanding, there are 7 additional states that national groups are working with right now, and they're hoping that we will have maybe as many as 9 states with some form of legalized cannabis by the end of 2014.
But wouldn't that change if we had a different president in office and an administration that took an aggressive approach to marijuana use? Wouldn't we see all of that flip over?
You would not. Nothing is going to stop the advocates for change, and that includes me. Arrest doesn't stop us. Death doesn't stop us. We're doing the right thing for the people of the world. So nothing's going to stop us. We have momentum now, and more people are joining us on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And, we're not talking, the old crowd, the tie-dye hippies like me. We're talking new people. We're talking college people, professionals, and workers, from every socioeconomic standpoint.
One last thing. What makes you personally so passionate about marijuana?
Well, for me, it's about more than marijuana. I am a civil liberties guy. I held hands with Charlton Heston in Lansing over guns several years ago. So I kind of am not a conservative or a Democrat. I am a civil libertarian, and I think that's where my passion comes from, giving people the rights back that they were meant to have under our U.S. Constitution.
Brad Forrester, he helped form the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association as the local Sheboygan director for the Michigan chapter of NORML. Brad, thanks for joining us on WILS.
Thank you for inviting me, Michael. Have a good day.
You too. Coming up next, we'll talk about tomorrow's big Detroit Economic Club luncheon. Michael Finney from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation will be joining us. That is next. I'm Michael Cohen. This is 1320 WILS.